As guitar players, as musicians, we are prone to wanting to get the newest, latest gear, thinking that that's going to be something that's going to make us better at music. Now, we might not think that consciously, but I think that's the underlying idea. Better guitar, better guitarist, right? I recently met an awesome guy. He's a producer, a bass player, a piano player, just an incredible front of house engineer, a wonderful musician. And he makes his living with an $80 guitar, a $90 bass, and a laptop. His name's Ryan, and I'm gonna interview him here in just a little bit so we can maybe steal some of his mentality on how he acquires gear.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day.
I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the problems I've had with wanting more and more gear that I had when I started playing and how that's evolved as I become a professional musician. I'm gonna do an interview with Ryan. We're gonna hear how he thinks about gear, how he makes purchasing decisions, what he owns, why he owns it, all that fun stuff. And then if you stick around to the end of the video, as a bonus, I'm gonna give you the 7 steps I've created for myself to make acquiring new gear a conscious process and not something where I'm chasing after getting better by spending money. Now, owning a lot of gear isn't bad, it's the philosophy behind acquiring all that gear that I'm calling into question. Let me explain. But first, if you're struggling with strumming, I've got a free 7-day course for you as a gift. Follow the link in the description. All right, let's dive in, talk with Ryan, and find out more about how he is using guitars that cost less than $200 combined to make a living as a musician. Welcome to Guitar Gym Pro. If this is your first time, I'm Jake, and this is my friend Ryan. Thanks for coming by. Today we're talking about gear.
Yeah.
So, everybody's favorite topic, right?
Oh yeah.
And so just a little background, right? We met at church.
Yep.
Right? So we were both working at the same place.
Yeah.
And I think being at a church gives you kind of a particular perspective.
Sure.
With budgets and whatnot, or lack thereof.
Or lack thereof, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Different places, different vibes. Yeah.
Exactly. We're live broadcasting. Here's $20. Good luck.
Figure it out.
Yeah. But so I wanted to have you on because you've really shaped how I view gear. So if I'm honest, I have a big problem buying a lot of gear.
Gas, as they call it. Right?
Yeah, definitely. I've got very bad gas. So my wife and I are both musicians, and so I think a lot of times in a marriage you get this thing where, the husband's like, "Look, I want these new golf clubs," and the wife is like, "Hey, remember we have an electric bill." Yes. And then the wife is like, "Hey, I need this new dress," and the husband's like, "Hey, remember the mortgage," and it's like a thing,
Right. Yeah.
But ultimately, my wife and I we both are like, "Hey, what's fun? Music." And so, I remember one day, gosh, right after we got married, we wanted to buy her a bass. And I was like, "Oh man, that guitar is on sale and it's really sweet and we don't have a Telecaster." And she was like, "Great, let's get both," Which I love her for that. That is awesome. That's not a complaint.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, right? And so
a bit of a dream.
Definitely. Yeah. And then I spent my whole youth buying, mid-level gear.
Sure.
Right? So not the cheapest thing that you could buy, but not really professional level yet.
Right.
And I think for me that really left a bad taste in my mouth. I had a couple guitars where the necks twisted and they were through bodies.
Yeah.
And just a couple amps that it's you wouldn't mic up to record.
Sure.
And so what is it for? Playing live and modeling was becoming a big thing. I was, playing a lot of quiet stages. So maybe share a little bit about your background as a musician and kind of what you grew up doing and how you got into doing everything you do.
Yeah, man. So my family was incredibly just into music, and there was always music playing in our house. There was always a piano in our house. There was always some sort of studio setup.
Okay. Recording equipment.
Recording, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, always something like that. Whether it was, just a pair of speakers and, some sort of small recording device or full setup with some rack gear and all that kind of thing. There's just always something.
Okay.
So that was just kind of what I grew up around.
All right.
And as a kid, I started playing by ear. And then I took some piano lessons for a few months.
What was your first instrument?
Piano.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when I was a teenager, I got into bass.
Nice.
and other stuff, and just kind of always messed around with drums and guitar, and yeah.
Just playing a lot of everything.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
you know?
But so a big part of what you do now is pro audio.
Yes.
So you do a lot of like live sound, production, recording, that kind of a thing. So when did that become part of what you're doing?
Back when I was a teenager.
Okay, same thing. Okay,
Yeah, same thing.
okay.
Yeah. So basically what happened is, so I grew up in Jamaica, and when we moved from the States down to Jamaica, my dad brought all of his recording gear.
Okay.
And so then as a teenager, I was the kid with the gear. You know what I mean? And I had the friends who were the musicians, and that always gave me the opportunity to record people.
Got it. I got it. Your house was the place to hang if you wanted to make music because
I had the gear.
You had a way to do it. Yeah. Awesome. So growing up in Jamaica, I imagine small island nation, really different.
Yeah.
So like access to things, I would imagine was an issue, right?
Yeah.
Like I know, so when I started working in a wedding event band, the first wedding we booked was huge. The venue was just bigger than we had gear for because we'd been playing small clubs before that. And so I remember I just went to Guitar Center and rented some, QSE 153s.
Yeah.
Was that a thing?
No. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, it would have been like you can rent stuff, but it's expensive.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Buying stuff too. Is it available?
Yeah, stuff is kind of available, and especially during that era, it was like the cheapest, Radio Shack mic that you could find.
Yeah.
Is kind of what you would find in the store, or you could find a 58, but it was, $400 or the equivalent of like $400.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just really expensive and stuff, and so
So it's like us getting fish in Arizona.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
And so that was. So you kind of got by with whatever you had, and made whatever you could get work.
Okay, very cool. All right. So has that influenced the way you see and use gear now?
Absolutely.
Okay. So now I know right, like your recording setup involves antelope audio equipment.
It does.
Which is extremely high end. Like they're not...
Right.
That's not Behringer.
Yeah, no, it's not.
But so how does that work? So how has it influenced the way that you buy gear now?
So I think it's influenced the fact... Okay, so back in Jamaica, it really was making do with what you had, right?
Right.
And you just had to figure out how to make it work the best that you could. And I put a lot of energy into that. And then coming back to the States, then it meant I had a little more access to stuff.
Okay.
But then it was like, okay, let me research and understand why this works and why this works, and maybe why I could still use this less expensive thing instead of this more expensive thing, and save money and put it elsewhere.
Okay.
And so like now what it's basically come down to is buying as much as I can afford used.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how I got into the Antelope audio world, especially because of the mic emulation stuff and all that. It meant that I could have one mic instead of...
So so the idea is you wanted to get into mic emulation because I can have one mic and have it do more things.
Correct.
And so it was worth it to buy the higher end interface and higher end mic to be able to do that.
Right.
Okay. But then it's used. It's always...
Exactly.
Okay.
It's always used.
Okay.
I haven't bought something new in a very long time.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I mean, that makes sense. I think a lot of us do that.
Yeah.
What gear do you currently own?
Currently, I've got some bass guitars. Do you want me to go through them?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I've got a 5-string precision bass. It's a Squire V Special.
Okay.
So it's precision body, 5-string with jazz pickups.
Okay. And are they the stock pickups?
They're not the stock pickups.
Right.
I did some EMG active pickups.
Okay,
in
cool.
there. And I got that when I was 13.
So you've had that forever.
That's been my ride or die.
Okay, that's awesome.
My parents bought me that, and they were like, if you're gonna play it, or if we're gonna get this for you, then you're gonna have to play it. So
I get it. We've all had that talk.
Yeah,
I get that.
And then I have a 4-string Squire P bass. I think it's like Affinity series or something like that.
Okay.
That I initially picked up for $20 on OfferUp.
$20.
$20.
Okay.
The neck was like smiling at you. And
So some work had to be done.
Some work had to be done.
Okay.
And stuff. But I found a nice pick guard that had switchcraft, jacks and upgraded pots and that kind of thing for 25. And so like,
so I think this is really interesting.
Yeah.
So I have purchased a lot of new gear, right?
Sure.
So like I'm not in the thing, but I did a stint teaching out of the back of a Guitar Center.
Okay.
And so I had a discount. And so it was like, hey man,
Yeah, why not?
They put stuff on sale and then you still get a discount under
top of
clearance.
it. Nice.
But so I would buy a lot of Gibson USA stuff, but like
Okay.
studios or SG Fadeds.
Yeah.
And then I would do the same thing.
Gotcha.
I would gut them and then rewire them or order pickups
Yeah.
or whatever and,
Got
and
you.
do the thing that I wanted
Yeah.
myself on that. So I think it's really interesting that's, I see a lot of guitar players doing that, right? Like
Sure.
what can I do with
Yeah.
the gear that I have and
Right.
upgrade it? And I think that's part of, right, like Leo Fender's design,
Sure.
like when he was building the guitar, was like, hey, I want to be able to modify this like a car.
Sure.
I want to be able to tune it up like a guitar or like a car.
Yeah.
I want to be able to, that whole vibe.
Yeah.
So
Soup it up.
that's really cool.
So yeah, that's the other bass. And then I also have a Tobias growler.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't think
Never
you've
seen
that
it.
one.
Yeah, no,
I
those
loaned
other
it-
two
I
I've seen
loaned
all
it-
the time.
Yeah, I loaned the Tobias to a friend of mine. And it really is a cool bass. Like it's from the early 90s, back when Michael Tobias was still running it.
Yeah.
And stuff. And it's one of those where like it's really high valued, and I got it for like basically helping out with a project.
Back when it wasn't a
Yeah.
big deal. Dude, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
and stuff. Yep.
Cool. So, all right. So that's 3 basses. So that's not nothing.
Right.
And then, but you've been playing some guitar lately.
I've been playing some guitar lately.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what kind of guitar are you playing?
So I only have one, and it's an IYV
Guitar.
Yes.
I was asking. So you've been playing some guitar.
Yeah.
And you got a guitar.
I got a guitar. So there's this site called Auction Nation, and I frequent this website here. It's the local website, and they run local auctions. And I saw that guitar on there, and so it's basically telly body.
Was Bree, your sister, telling Lizzie about this?
She might have been.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Because she was like,
yeah.
Lizzie was like, man, that's really fancy air fryer. She was like,
Yep.
I got it for $20. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, legit.
Okay.
Yeah, the site is
Cool,
awesome.
cool.
And so yeah, I frequent there. I have the set of search prompts, keys, piano, bass, guitar, drums, USB, Apple, like stuff like that.
Less than XYZ.
Right. Well, not even less than, because I mean, you never know what's gonna pop up. So I just kind of put those things in there and see what comes up, and it's like, oh,
That's
okay,
cool.
I like that. So a guitar popped up, this IYV,
Yeah.
like kind of cheap thing. I think it's like $250, $300.
Okay.
Depending on the day on Amazon or whatever.
Sure.
And I got it for like $70.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
New in box and
Oh, really?
everything. Yeah.
Wow. Very
yeah.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And stuff. And it's got P90 pickups in it. And, I'm not a guitarist really. Like, I kind of play. Jake has tried to teach me, and I've basically failed miserably.
I don't think that's true at all.
But yeah, like, I functionally play guitar, and
Sure.
enough for
It
a
gets the
record,
job done.
enough for
Yeah.
a church service here or there.
Are you gonna upgrade the pickups? Is that something that's on your radar for that?
You know what? I need to do some more research. So I really love the concept of P90s, and that's part of why it jumped out at me. 'cause
Totally.
I
You're
only
halfway
have-
between a single coil and a humbucker.
Exactly.
Sort of.
Yeah.
It's got the character. You can-
Right. And I only have one guitar, and so
Yeah. I get it.
kind of get a little bit of both. And so like I need to get some understanding on what different P90s sound like.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
Right now, this is the first P90s I've ever had, and so
They're getting the job done.
they're getting the job done.
I get that.
Yeah.
All right. So you and your family are about to move from Arizona
Yes.
to Birmingham, England.
Yes, to Birmingham, England.
All right. So of that gear that you have, right? So you've got a studio set up, monitors, antelope audio stuff, couple basses, that guitar.
Yeah.
What's gonna make it from here to England?
Ooh, okay. That list changes every so often. So the interface that I have, that analog interface that I have is just a little like 4-channel desktop kind of interface thing, right?
It's their kind of competition with Apollo's Duo or quad or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the Zen Q.
Okay.
Thunderbolt.
Got it.
And stuff. And so yeah, it's great. And I have the Edge Solo mic. Yeah, Edge Solo mic.
Okay.
And so
That'll travel.
that'll travel.
Got it.
And stuff. In terms of the basses, man, I so want to take all of them with me. But
realistically.
Last time I was there, I did buy Harley Benton 5-string PJ.
So is that a benefit of looking at gear this way? And that like, hey, like I'm moving across the world. I'll just pick something up when I get there.
Yeah, that was my justification for getting it because I really wanted a 5-string PJ.
Okay. But the idea is like you're not that deep into any of these. Your P bass was $20.
Right.
The pick guard was
25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like a total of $45 into that, and I used a set of old strings that I had from my 5-string. You know what I mean? Like you're right. Like,
and so if you go and buy a new one in England, it's not like, oh man,
the biggest
right?
deal.
Where like for me, I mean, this behind me is my number one.
Yeah.
Which was a gift from a student actually, but still, I can't just go grab another one, right? Like it's a limited run thing.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know that I would ever buy for myself, but somebody gave it to me, so
that's kind of a big deal.
I didn't want to say no.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so
would have been rude.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'm tempted to try and bring them because like now they all kind of have sentimental value.
Okay.
That super cheap P bass, I don't know. It feels really good, and I've picked up a ton of other P basses, and
it just does the thing for you.
The way that I set it up and that kind of thing. So it's like, can I travel with it? Should I? Maybe not. I'll leave a lot of gear here though. I actually have a lot of gear just in different places.
I get that. Spread around, have friends, different studios. I get that. So when you get to England, is there anything that you're going to buy right away? So like a bass if you don't bring it, but like is there anything where you're like, hey, like this is coming up right now?
No, like that bass that I told you that I picked up over there.
It's still there.
It's still there.
Okay, but
so
hypothetically, you would just buy one.
Yeah.
But you have one there from last time.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And stuff, and I'm bringing the interface and the mic, and I have a laptop, and
that's all
I'll
need.
Mix with ears. I'll probably see if I can source some monitors.
But it doesn't sound like that's like, oh my gosh, I have to. It's like headphones will be fine for the time being. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like a nice to have, not need to have.
A friend of mine said that if I move, he'll give me his NS10s. So I'm going to hold on to that.
All right. So pending your friend keeps his word,
right?
You don't need to buy anything,
right? No,
Okay.
Yeah, there's really not anything that I'll need to buy, and so even like with accessories, I'm planning to travel with some of those like cables and adapters.
It's just little stuff. Yeah. I gotcha.
Throw those in the bag. And
you mentioned growing up in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And so you were part of a pretty large church there, right? 1,500-ish.
Yeah.
Which again, not a ton of people live in Jamaica. That's pretty large.
For Jamaica, yeah.
What was equipment like there? Because I mean, I think if you think 1,500 people here, I mean, at least an X32.
Sure.
Right? Like, so I mean, you're talking. I mean, you're running a high-end digital board. I mean, I know Behringer X32 is not.
Sure, yeah.
A Digital or whatever. But your X32 Persona, something like that.
Yeah.
You've got easy 8-ear sends.
Right.
Things like that. You're typically, you're going into a pretty comfortable environment.
Yeah.
How about?
So up until a couple years ago, they were running a pair of Mackie 1604s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Those are active though, right?
Well, no, the mixers.
Oh, I thought
the 16-channel.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so and they've been using those since
you were a kid.
Yeah, honestly, since like 98, 97.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. And like they dead channels and blah blah blah, but
I don't know that I've ever been to a church that doesn't have at least one dead channel.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? We did the board install yesterday. You can't use channel 9.
Exactly. But yeah, like that's kind of what that was.
Okay.
There were the speakers are from like a nightclub that closed down, and the owner was like, "Hey, would you guys like
want some speakers?" Yeah.
And stuff. Completely the wrong speakers for the job for the thing. Yeah. There were these like JBL club speakers.
Got it. And you're just making it work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really.
But that goes back to you were saying it's what you have access to.
Right.
And it's like, hey, these are speakers. We're gonna use them.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I got it.
And stuff. Yeah. And they work.
Yeah.
And stuff. 2 monitor sends. For wedges. One for the stage. One for the band.
Got it.
Amps. It's loud, and it's a good time.
I believe it. I believe it.
Time, you know.
No quiet stages.
Yeah, nope. But yeah, you make do with what you got, and do the best you absolutely can.
All right, awesome. So now the other thing that I know about you is you also own a B3
Yes.
and a classic Fender Rhodes.
Yes.
Okay, so both of those things would be considered ultra high end,
Yes.
vintage,
Yeah.
and sought after pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
Okay. So hearing the rest of your philosophy, right? Only I'm buying it used. Okay, yeah, that's used.
Sure.
But that's also, they cost more now than they did when they came out.
Right.
So used, sure, but it's not the cheapest way to get that done.
Sure.
If you're like, what's the cheapest way for me to get some good organ sounds?
Yeah.
A B3 is maybe the best,
Sure.
but not the cheapest.
Yeah.
So how do you end up with that? Like, how did those gear purchase decisions get made?
Okay, so the B3 I actually didn't buy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the B3 was given to me by a family friend.
Okay, awesome.
Whose mom had passed away.
Okay.
And stuff, and so it was sitting in their living room and had been since like 60 something when they bought it.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like
Okay.
immaculate and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, we need to get rid of this. I know you play keys. You play do you want it?" And so I was like, "Yes."
Okay.
Absolutely. And then the Rhodes, it was at a pawn shop.
Okay.
And they had maybe like 4 or 5 of them, and they were going through a transition, and they were just like, and I knew like one of the guys that worked there, and I you just frequent these places,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he was like, "Man, we need to move these like today or tomorrow."
They're big.
And I was like, like, what'll you take? And he was like, "Give me anything." And I was like, "I've got $150. And he was like, "You got it."
Okay. Nice.
So like I wouldn't have, it's a B3, it's a Rhodes. Like, of course I want one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but,
totally.
But I wouldn't say that it's necessarily something that I was like, "Ooh, let me save up my money so that I can
Get it.
It was like, you know what?
Right place, right time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And these soft synths, they're kind of close enough. Let me keep trying to dial those in. But then the opportunity presents itself, and it's like,
I'll take it. Okay. That makes sense.
and so like I'm grateful for those experiences, because
Okay.
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, man.
All right. So what would it take for you to buy an expensive piece of gear?
Ooh, I'd need to really need it. I'd need to really, really need it.
So you helped a church build a studio recently.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, and just, for example,
Yeah.
one of the pieces of gear that they bought was studio monitors.
Yes.
And they put a big chunk of change into those monitors,
Yes,
right? I
they
think it
did.
was 10 grand for the
yeah,
pair.
for the monitor, for the pair and the sub.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that
no
is
doubt.
way
That's-
above home
yeah,
studio
right.
situation. So my question then being, is it different because it's an organization and the way the financial situation is? Like, if you woke up tomorrow
Yeah.
and you were just like, oh man, I don't know what to do with all this money,
Sure.
would expensive gear be on your radar? Or would it still be, it's just an ethic that you have where it's like, yeah, but these speakers are 80% as good and
Yeah.
$1,000.
Right. I think. Yeah. Okay. So, an organization versus a home studio. That's one thing.
Yeah.
For me, you know what I mean, or organization versus my personal setup.
Okay.
And stuff. So, yeah, I'd say that those are two very different things. Also, my prior lack of experience with sort of those uber high-end types of monitors, I think I might have been living in the dark a little bit, because I'm not gonna lie, like sitting on them for the past 6-8 months, it's different.
It is. It changes
like,
the way you hear music almost.
Yeah, man. And so then like last night I was at a friend's studio and stuff, and he had a pair of monitors that I would readily recommend, quickly, just like that, because they're great. But it was like, man, these are not.
The depth isn't there.
No.
Right? Yeah.
It's different, And so prior to helping this church with this studio, I would have absolutely been like,
Makes sense.
Not anything would work, but I would definitely.
Here's decent, and we can go up from there.
Yeah, and then like
that'll get the job done.
Learn the room, learn the monitors, and I still really do believe that if I woke up with a lot of money that I could only spend on gear, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, okay, what are all the things I need to buy, and do higher end monitors work in that budget?
But so when we talk about that monitors specifically, it sounds like that has something to do with how important your listening environment is to mixing.
Absolutely.
So I know a lot of times,
and that was the thing that drove the purchase.
Got it.
That because we wanted to create a listening environment that we could work quickly in, and so
got it.
The nicer monitors aren't just nicer; they're sort of more revealing, and you can trust them quickly without having to go back and forth referencing things. And
it's the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
It's a large organization. You have multiple mix engineers in and out of there, multiple producers.
Correct.
The room is not an ideal room because it's a retrofitted space.
Yeah.
It's not
a
custom build.
Right.
I get that. But okay.
And we also put quite a bit of energy into making the room better as well. So the monitoring and the room are kind of like I feel like they're very, very important. If not the most important things, they're very, very important things. And so I would put a lot of energy into making sure the room was as good as we could reasonably get it.
Sure.
And the monitoring was as good.
As a producer, I mean, how often are you using stock plugins?
I am using stock plugins quite a bit. Yeah. I think I own like 7 or 8 Waves plugs.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And stuff. And again, I only bought those because like a studio that I work at has Mercury, Waves Mercury, which is everything.
Yeah.
All the Waves plugs and stuff. And while it's incredibly fun to use them, I found that for myself and my own personal setup, I'm only purchasing the things that actually help my workflow.
So I would actually say it's the same way. I'm in Logic, you're in Logic usually. And so just the stock plugins, if it gets the job done, I'm not going to do something else.
Right.
I'm only buying those to solve problems.
Exactly.
Or if it's something that they don't have. So I would say Logic just doesn't do saturation.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And so
So I have that Shep's omni-channel.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I don't use sausage fattener.
Okay.
It's just, one knob. It's really easy for us guitar players.
But I agree. Yeah, just getting the plug for the job, getting the right tool for the job kind of thing.
Yeah.
Instead of, and I'm not gonna lie, every so often I get that email from Waves buy one get two free or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like, ooh, do I need a new plugin?
Yeah.
No, I don't need a new plugin.
But so is that arousing your desire for gear or your enjoyment of the deal?
Both.
Okay, because that was kind of what I was thinking. Is it's because buy one get two free. It's like I don't want to lose money on this. It's like when Big Macs are buy one get one for $1. It's like I'll take 20.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then it really boils down to okay, yes, maybe I have the money right now. I just finished a project, and so there's some extra cash. But it's do I actually need a new plugin? And so oftentimes the answer is no.
Got it.
And so I just let it go.
Cool.
Yeah, which is hard in the moment, but then you forget about it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. Although I will say, every so often different manufacturers will have free plugs, and so I tried to take advantage of the free plugins, and just ethically based on the fact that it's free.
Makes sense. Yeah. Let's talk about buying gear and kind of the philosophy behind it.
Yeah.
So what is going to drive a purchase decision? So when do you say, hey, can I find a deal?
Yeah. So on sort of, again, two fronts. One front, I'm always looking for a good deal.
Okay.
And so kind of like you were saying before, where
is that to flip gear though?
No.
It's just to see if you can get it.
Yeah.
It's worth it because it doesn't cost that much. Okay.
Right. So that's one side. And I've only done the flipping thing once with those dynamites.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which ended up being incredible. But yeah.
Did the trick.
It more than did the trick. But then, but on the other side, it really is, what do I need for whatever's happening right now? That really is the main thing that drives my spending money.
Okay.
You know, what do I need, or what will I need for what I'm going to be trying to do in the future.
Do you have a set budget where you're like, hey, like I'm, you know, based on, you know, where I'm at income wise and whatever, I'm giving myself X a month to spend, and I kind of put it in a little pool so when something cool comes up? Or is it more of that is a piece of gear I need or will need, and the deal's too good to pass up, I'm just going to jump on it?
So I try to have some cash set aside and stuff, you know, to be able to do that.
Got it.
So that when something comes up, or if like a project comes up and it's like, oh man, I don't really play guitar, and so I don't have any guitar gear, but such and such is calling me for this guitar gig.
I need a processor.
And they might call me for another 3 or 4, so I can't just knock on Jake's door and borrow his gear.
You totally could, but yeah, I get it.
But
no,
you know
I know
what I mean?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm doing this enough. I want to own it. I'm gonna be able to plug headphones into it and practice.
Right,
and
right.
This is now a good time for me to get that.
Yeah.
So would you say it's about solving a need?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
absolutely.
You're not buying gear for some future eventuality or because it's cool to have, unless it's just somebody wants to give you a B3.
Right. Yeah.
But it's, hey, I need this.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to need this in the very near future.
Right. Okay. Right. And I think like I maybe also have a list of those things that when a deal comes up, it's like
I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, which is sort of the Rhodes thing. Like I didn't actually have $150. I had $100.
But you wanted him to say yes.
Yeah, exactly. So like then I had to go and find an extra $50 to make that happen. But
it's
a Fender
Rhodes.
Rhodes was like on my list of.
But you could also literally go on Reverb and turn around and sell that for
$800, $1,000, $1,500.
I mean, easy.
Yeah.
All day. And so it was like, I get that.
Right.
That's kind of a like.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want it.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Still, and then you want it. But still, it's like, I kind of have to buy it.
Right.
Anything else that we should know?
Jesus is awesome.
That's true.
I love my wife. I love my kids.
Good.
They're awesome.
Man.
You're awesome, actually.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You too, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
It's cool. Very cool. All right. I'm going to turn everything off. Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
So early on in high school, I spent probably somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000 on equipment that was mid-level. It wasn't the cheapest entry-level thing I could get to get started, and it wasn't professional gear that I would keep with me for the rest of my life. So how about you? How often have you purchased vanity gear? Gear that was just trying to make you better, gear that you thought, this is the thing that's gonna take me to that level. For me, that was that valve amp when I was 15. Remember, if you're a guitar player and you need any help with strumming, I've got a free course. The link is in the description. Now, let's jump onto the framework I'm using now after having spent about a year working with Ryan to acquire new gear, to think about my purchases and to make sure I'm getting what I need, not what I think I want. First, I'm not gonna browse for gear unless there's a specific need that I need to fill. I don't wanna just know every pedal that's out on the market because that's just gonna make me want them. I wanna know, man, I need a drive that does X, and then I start looking. 2, I'm only looking for solutions to problems. If I can't articulate the problem, I'm not going to be out there looking for gear. Each piece of gear I'm looking to get is going to be solving a problem that I have. 3, I'm gonna find out if I can borrow or if I can rent the equipment. Now, when I was talking to Ryan, that's not something he necessarily did. But as I was starting that wedding event band, the first handful of really large shows, you know, over 2,500 people that we started to play, I rented the PA system that we needed to fulfill those orders because I wasn't sure if that was going to be lucrative, if that was going to be what we were doing long term. And since I wasn't sure, I didn't want to invest in a PA system that was way bigger than I may ever need again. Now, I ultimately ended up buying, but in the beginning, renting allowed me to explore it as an option and determine if it was worth it. 4, I'm going to determine what the best solution is and what the cheapest solution is. I want to know both. 5, I want to determine which solution has the longest shelf life. So for example, I could buy a $40 distortion pedal to get me through a gig this weekend, but how quickly am I going to get tired of that tone? How quickly am I going to want to replace that with something better? So I want to know what's going to have the longest shelf life. Now, usually that's going to be on the more expensive end, but we want to find out when we hit the point of that'll last me about forever. 6, I'm going to explore used gear or other ways of making a deal. Can I make a trade with somebody? Is there used gear available? Can I find a scratch and dent deal? Where can I get the solution for the cheapest? 7 would be to buy that gear new. And it would be what's the best and the cheapest with the longest shelf life. That's how I'm going to make that decision. And that's my last step. If you want to see if I know what I'm talking about, check out this video where I teach my buddy Henry to play guitar in 15 minutes.